Over 100 years ago, the NCAA was created to regulate and control collegiate athletics. The NCAA had a core principle to classify college athletes as unpaid amateurs, profiting off of those who compete in college sports, generating revenues off of student athletes. Fast forward to 2021, and college athletes were still not getting paid to play. Until July 1st, 2021, economics changed forever, when college athletes became eligible to make money off their name, image, and likeness. Athletes are now pocketing million-dollar endorsement deals, using social media to build their personal brands and businesses off the court and field. But in hindsight, a law to create good has been showing signs of harm to collegiate athletics. Will NIL even out the playing field or destroy college sports before we know it? We talked to student athletes, coaches, and professors to take us through the chaos that is NIL and where it's heading. NIL is an acronym for name, image, and likeness, and it's going down as one of the most significant things that has ever happened in the history of college sports. But is NIL doing what it intended to do for student athletes?
I feel like the original intention of NIL, meaning simply, promoting a brand or getting your face involved in that kind of avenue, is a great idea. Although without the contextualizedness, and because it was launched before there was a lot of regulations in place and regulations that we actually are able to enforce, I feel like it's going down a nasty hole.
Just because I play an Olympic sport, I run track and field, NIL is very difficult to come by. It's difficult to get money and funding and sponsorships from big businesses, especially within Iowa City, because they're not looking at track and field athletes as the prime market. They're looking at football, basketball, and wrestling, especially within Iowa, as the prime markets. So it's extremely difficult and at times frustrating.
With NIL growing more every day, it is inching into dangerous territory. It exposed underlying issues college sports have suffered from regarding gender inequality and disparities between sports.
One of my biggest issues with NIL in general, and it kind of ties into this DEI point, when you look specifically at women, what women are getting NIL deals? It's not the best players in the country. It's not the ones that stand out on a statistical scale. It's the ones who are influencers on TikTok. It's the ones who are, unanimously stunning, pretty, and sexualized women. And honestly, a lot of NIL deals are girls dancing in a bikini on TikTok or doing something like that, repping a makeup brand. And then, if an athlete wants to pursue that, that's great. I don't want to take anything away from athletes who are pursuing those avenues, but it's frustrating to me as a high-level athlete and as a high-performing player, the girls that I'm seeing get these NIL deals are the girls who are willing to flaunt their sexuality. And it really just ties more into this, why are we supporting women? Are we supporting women's sports because we believe women's sports are equal? Or are we still tying back to this world of sexualizing women in women's sport?
The idea of sex sells has brought equitable concerns to women in collegiate athletics. And if you're not a Caitlin Clark or a Paige Buckers or have a strong social media presence, you will lose out on the profits NIL can give you. As you look deeper into NIL, you not only see gender disparities, but sport disparities as well. Collectives. Collectives are collections of people who want to funnel NIL money to student athletes. Most often, the money is pulled from boosters and businesses. Iowa has a Swarm Collective for the men and women's basketball programs and football to help create NIL opportunities through various events.
I do not agree with it, as I think it is a very inequitable system, as you are kind of giving the best opportunities. You are creating a collective or a fund of money that is going to go to the players that are that are most advantaged to get NIL deals within the city. So I am kind of opposed to it, but I do understand and I do appreciate that they are doing something for student athletes. That's what I do appreciate.
I honestly just found out about Swarm last week. Arlen was talking about it and he was like, yeah, we do this thing called Swarm. I was like, what is Swarm? He was like, it's like an NIL deal and we talk to children, we hang out with children, and they're like, yeah, we've gotten quite a few $100s for going and coloring with children, going and talking to them, reading books. I was like, oh, where is this opportunity for us? Because I've never heard of it, so it's really new to me.
To me, it's just those things should come from your heart, not from a money aspect. And like you said, it's not they're not worth the money or anything like that, but it definitely puts a different meaning on what it means to give back to the community. Like, we do that out of the kindness of our heart. That's what we're taught as gymnasts in our program and in our culture. So it is interesting to see that other teams' cultures are kind of different mindset or more money mindset, because when you get into the real world, it's not like that. So it's just, I mean, I will use that word. It is frustrating just because it's not out of the kindness of your heart. You're doing it because you get something from it.
I still commit 20 hours just a week, just like these players do. And, you know, Iowa soccer is on an uphill turn. You also have programs in Iowa outside of soccer. I'm thinking field hockey. They're consistently top 5 in the nation. I understand that field hockey isn't the same audience and this isn't the same pool, but as student athletes, we're expected to perform the same. We have the pressure to perform the same, and all of us have similar goals at the end of the day. We all want the University of Iowa to be the best athletics program it can be. So it is frustrating as an athlete right now because it very much is seen and it's known that we're tier B under other athletes.
The Swarm Collective has brought opportunities to many student athletes in top-tier programs. But what about the Olympic sports who don't get as much media attention like football and basketball? There are more than 120 collectives across the U.S., either known or being formed. And with that number growing, it is beginning to show signs of tampering with recruitment.
I think when it gets to be used in the incorrect way is when a player is going to go to a school and they're using it for recruiting incentives. Like, if you come here, you're going to get this Lamborghini. Like, I've heard that. And so that's what I think that we need to draw the line on those type of things.
Honestly, it opens up to a world of potential lawsuits in a way, you know, and obviously contracts and contractual agreements are a different way. But right now, so much is like, hey, I'll give you this free t-shirt if you rep my brand. And there's no deeper understanding of what that might label you for and what you're representing. And so the amount of vetting that athletes have to do and doing on their own right now, once again, as 18, 19, 20-year-olds trying to figure out if this is something I want to forever label my life on. And to be honest, it just is, to a lot of people, so scary that they just don't do it at all.
With its limited rules and regulations, the Wild West that is NIL is showing indicators of destroying collegiate athletics. And we can't help but wonder if all this chaos will lead to amateurism in sports disappearing.
Amateurism is already starting to deteriorate. Right now there's conversations on increasing sports betting opportunities for NCAA sports, which I think is horrendous. And that, coupled with NIL, coupled with massive conference realignment, you're starting to see that this is less of doing it for the love of the sport and doing it for how much money I can make.
So what will the future of NIL look like? And will the inconsistency continue to affect the culture of collegiate athletics?
I think that the NCAA will eventually get stricter regulations by the United States government just because of NIL's complete lack of attention towards equity. I think that as time progresses, there will be more regulations and rules about where NIL can be spent, how it is to be distributed, and how practices cannot widen that equity gap between sports, women and men, and universities and conferences.
I don't see it going away. I mean, the fact that the news has been reporting about an $8 million NIL contract for one quarterback out there, that really is an indication of how much potential there is for this to continue to escalate.
From a equity in government standpoint, there has to be some form of regulation, or we are going to get a system of student athletes going to college not to get an education but to make money, right? And what is that if that is not the professional circuit, right? And you come to college not to make money but to grow a career and to learn what you want to do for the rest of your life.
The intention of the name, image, and likeness bill remains positive, but we discovered that the execution isn't doing a favor to the survival of collegiate athletics. Those who are intended to benefit from NIL will never reap its rewards because it's turned into an elitist class's source of money. We now know rules and regulations need to be made to tame the potential outpour NIL will have in college sports.